and welcome to Movie Film Studios, the only podcast that takes you inside the minds of two film studio executives as we unravel and then re-ravel the best that Hollywood has to offer. I'm Isaac.
And I'm AJ, and this week we dive into the seedy underbelly of Hell's Kitchen to discover a shadowy, demonic cult has been hunting humans for sport. But before we get into something new, it's time for something old as we check in on our last feature in Box Office Report. Now, last week we released the very, very family-friendly film.
Extremely family-friendly.
On the Edge of the Stars, starring Mandy Moore as an astronaut who takes her beloved turtle, his name was Colin, wasn't it?
Colin, yeah, after Michael Collins.
After Michael Collins.
Well remembered.
Voiced by Tom Holland.
Yep.
Into space. How did that go?
It is currently in redevelopment, so we haven't released it yet.
That goes against our release a film every week schedule.
I know it's been a troublesome couple of months, and obviously we haven't put out as the volume of films that people would be used to.
Yeah.
We put out a trailer for it.
Yep.
And got a lot of backlash from the character design of the tortoise.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really weird, and like taking a leaf out of the.
But hang on. I just want to clarify. We used mostly a real turtle for that.
Yeah,
and occasionally a puppet turtle just to sub in when it was too dangerous for the turtle to perform the stunts. It's not CGI.
Exactly, and this is coming from The Lion King coming out recently, and The Lion King they describe as a photorealistic computer-generated movie.
Yep.
There's a lot of backlash against that sort of photorealism.
Right.
They actually, like, people want their lovable animal characters to have a bit more human emotional range, a bit more articulation in the hands.
Yep.
And so
hands.
Yeah, they want to be able to pick up things. They want to be able to gesticulate, which a regular tortoise obviously can't do.
No.
And look, we feel that when the Sonic trailer came out, the people had backlash against that.
Yep.
And they went and redid the character for that one.
Yeah.
We thought, hey, look, we'll take that suggestion on board. We'll go back. And so it's like it takes a lot to paint out the real turtle from the shots that we've got to put the CG turtle back in.
Yeah.
It's currently in the works. We're currently doing it.
Yep.
And it should be out soon.
So is it going to look like a Pixar style CGI turtle now?
Yeah, a little
completely
bit.
A
little bit.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. I knew we should have stuck with a dog. No one complains about dogs talking or cats talking. Why?
It's just, I think it must be the reptilian face that people couldn't really empathize with. So.
Oh, that's a shame. I mean, we're going to have to really tell that turtle, tell its agent, actually, that we've had to cut it out of the film. Does it still get residuals, though?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
That doesn't, like, I think part of the clause was that, anyone who appeared in the credits of the film we would pay the wages for, and the turtle's just not in the credits anymore. So.
Oh man, sorry turtle, it's a cutthroat world here in Hollywood. Stay tuned if they ever make a Franklin the Turtle movie from those picture books. You might be in luck there.
No, because if they make a Franklin the Turtle movie, they'll want some cartoony style.
Actually, yeah. Wait till they make the Franklin the movie animated version, and then
25 years later, they make the photorealistic
the live
version.
action one,
and the turtle will be alive because obviously the tortoises and turtles last a really long time. So
the irony is they won't actually use the real turtle. It'll be a CGI computer scanned laser render of it instead. Yeah. Anyway, sorry turtle, you're out of luck. Alright, on to this week in trailers, and first trailer for you this week is The Hunt, directed by Craig Zobel and starring Ike Barinholtz, Betty Gilpin and Emma Roberts.
Hey there, help you?
What state is this?
Sorry.
You don't understand the question?
Oh no, I didn't. Most people know where they are.
Why ain't most people?
You're in the glorious state of Arkansas, sweetheart.
How'd you know they was lying?
Well, this ain't Arkansas, so everyone is lying.
So this is an interesting trailer, interesting concept actually. It kind of reminds me of a bit of a Black Mirror ripoff, I guess. It seems that the whole pretext of this film, based on what you probably just heard there, was Betty Gilpin's character is in a world, or trapped in a kind of theme, not a theme park, like a game reserve of some kind, being hunted by other humans for sport. It's like, that classic.
It is literally Predators,
Yeah.
where people have been kidnapped, dropped into an environment, and are being hunted. Only this is not a sci-fi. It's people that are hunting them rather than space alien monsters.
Sort of-
Are they? Obviously, you can't hear it, see it in the clip because you're listening to it. But when she says "This ain't Arkansas," she rips the number plate off a car, and behind it reveals what kind of looks like
European.
It's got the checkered flag of Croatia sort of like logo. So you kind of think, oh, it's Eastern European where the rules don't apply.
Yep.
And then apparently, Hilary Swank is arranged for incredibly rich people to kidnap people who you're not going to miss.
Yep.
And have these people hunt them down for sport.
Yeah.
I believe actually Jean-Claude Van Damme did a film in the either late 80s or early 90s called Hard Target.
Oh, yeah.
Which was the same thing where rich people paid ex-military homeless people to survive and then they bit off more than they can chew and they got Jean-Claude Van Damme involved. I think in one stage in that film as well, he catches a rattlesnake, bites off its tail and puts it in a tree with a tripwire, so when the people that are hunting him walk past, it pulls the rattlesnake down from the tree, and because it's pissed off because he bit off its tail, it bites the guy in the face and kills him.
That's elaborate.
That's the kind of shit we want to see in these films.
You're not going to see it in this
You're
one,
not going to see it in The Hunt. The Hunt's all very...
This is all it's very grim, it's very dour, it's very like dystopian future. It's all
it's not
very
even really
like
future.
Rich
It's
people
just
versus poor people, blah blah blah. I mean, you've heard the saying, something about like hunting the most dangerous game.
Man.
It's like it's a very Twilight Zone-esque kind of scenario, I guess. And I suppose we haven't really seen it with this kind of visceral intensity.
Yeah.
It's
either sort of not tongue-in-cheek, but very like stylized action Jean-Claude Van Damme, or you've got the sci-fi. This could be happening right now in Eastern Europe.
Probably,
and no one would be talking about it. There's a couple of shots later in the trailer of like them running over a guy's head with a car.
Yep.
People getting skewered by like bow and arrows getting shot. Like it's a very graphic, gruesome sort of grounded in reality.
It reminds me a little bit of Lord of the Fries. Not Lord of the Fries. Lord of the Flies. Not the popular vegetarian burger joint. The novel and film
William
Golding's sort of dystopian set on an island film, which leads to people doing certain things to survive. It sort of has that, but I'm not sure if it has the same social commentary that that publication had. This really just seems like it's a fun excuse to have a fight scene between the main character and Hilary Swank.
I think the biggest surprise here was some of the names that are in this film.
Oh, yeah.
So, the leading lady, whose name I don't remember. What's
Betty Gilpin, I believe.
Yeah, she's done a few films. She's done a few TV shows. But Ike Barinholtz has been in a number of films recently.
Yep.
Emma Roberts has been in a lot of films. Hilary Swank is in this one as well.
Yeah.
And they all seem to be playing background characters to this lead. So I don't know who got involved to get these people in this film. But I think that's probably the biggest draw card. Is just like the range of named actors who were playing roles in this film, because the premise doesn't look good. It looks
terrible, and I've just realized it's co-written by Damon Lindelof. So
of course,
anyway, if you don't know who that name is, then don't worry about it. But if you do know who that name is, you know what this film will be like.
The twist is it is actually just on an alien planet, and it was just a sequel to Predators the whole time.
Exactly. All right, on to the second trailer for this week's episode, which is The Kitchen, directed by Andrea Berloff and starring Melissa McCarthy, Tiffany Haddish, and Elizabeth Moss.
Alfonso Coretti. You girls been very busy, haven't you, Ruby? Mrs. Brennan. I won't bite. Claire, you're the one I have to watch out for, aren't you?
Listen to the wind blow. Our husbands have 24 more months left on their sentences.
You girls are gonna be just fine. We're gonna take care of you.
I can't even make the rent with what they gave me last night.
What are we gonna do?
All these men working these streets and not a solid set of balls anywhere.
Bunch of guys that don't even remember what family means.
So we remind them.
So this is, I think, set in 1978. There's a couple of films trailers we watched recently that seems to be like the late 70s.
It's the go-to time.
Is the time to be.
Yeah.
I have the ensemble cast of Melissa McCarthy, Elizabeth Moss, and Tiffany Haddish.
Yep.
Apparently their husbands are put in jail, I assume, for working for a crime family.
Yeah.
And so in order to support themselves, they turn to a life of crime. So it's essentially them joining the mob in the late 70s, becoming incredibly dispassionate killers with these little stub-nosed revolvers, walking up to people and just shooting them in the head.
Exactly, and we're dealing with Hell's Kitchen here, which is the titular kitchen, in the 70s as well. So this is like New York at its peak, kind of grimy, crime-infested horribleness, and the 70s is now far enough away that most people don't remember what it was actually like. So we can go back to these sort of almost romanticized versions of America back in the day. Honestly, like, I wasn't expecting this film to be a serious drama.
You see Melissa
McCarthy and then you're just like, come on, let's go.
But no, she's it's ruthless. It is like much more blatant, like just killing people in cold blood than I expected. From a film like this, and Elizabeth Moss as well. There's probably about 4 shots where she's just like raises a gun to someone's head and just blows it off.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Elizabeth Moss, that's what you want to do. That's
just
fine.
Let's go for it. This is apparently based on a graphic novel of the same name, and it's sort of been floating around Warner Brothers for a few years now as things tend
Daredevil prequel, right? I think Daredevil's set in Hell's Kitchen, so no, obviously not.
So I don't know. I mean, it kind of looks awful, but maybe I'm being snobbish. I don't know. It kind of looks poorly scripted and acted at times. Tiffany Haddish, just I don't know. I just don't buy her in this.
I would be very surprised if this gets wide release in Australia. I think it's probably one of those films that has enough cachet in America to be, this is nostalgic of a city, and this has some reasonably well recognized names to get enough of it might be showing in a couple of hundred cinemas there. I don't think it's going to come across over here. I don't think it's going to have that international reach. We watched a few trailers this week which were like sort of partly set in like China or other countries like that, and they start grossing quite a lot of money when you have that international pull, which I just think this one's missing. I don't think it looks, like you're saying, particularly well made. It kind of looks like the low budget movies of the late 70s. I mean, it reminds me quite a lot of The French Connection, the Gene Hackman film, which I think is made in 1978 and is doing the rough street crime of the era. I don't know what the graphic novel would look like. I've
never heard of it before either. But I mean, that doesn't mean much these days.
Really, so long as the filmmakers don't have to come up with their own original ideas, then they'll make anything apparently. So.
All right, on to the final trailer for this week's episode, which is Midsummer, directed by Ari Aster and starring Florence Pugh, Jack Rayner, and William Jackson Harper.
I told you that I want to go to that festival in Sweden.
No, you said it would be cool to go.
Yeah, and then I got the opportunity and I decided to do it.
I don't mind you going. I just wish you would have told me, that's all.
Dude, she needs a therapist. You've been wanting out of this stupid relationship for like a year now.
And don't forget about all of the beautiful Swedish women you'll meet in June.
Okay, guys.
That's not her again. Seriously?
Babe, what's happening? Danny.
I was so very sorry to hear about what happened.
I'm sorry.
I invited Danny to come to Sweden. You know what she's been going through.
Christian says you've got this special week planned.
It's sort of a crazy festival. Special ceremonies and dressing up.
That sounds fun.
Do you love how the discordant violin has just overtaken every single trailer soundtrack?
I think, so this one, Pet Sematary, which we watched a couple of weeks ago, has that same sort of, weird, droning, discordant violin.
It's the Hans Zimmer style of, composing, which is very percussive. And if you listen to, the Dark Knight soundtrack, particularly when the Joker's about to blow up the boats, there's that same kind of, sustained string kind of unease and creepiness that's in there, and it's just everywhere now.
Yeah,
it's like
this one. I think the horror ones put like a bit more of a warble in there, so it's like
of course, everything sounds detuned and like just wrong, and I like.
To be fair,
it works.
It makes me feel uncomfortable, and it's so.
But at the same time,
if the music's making me feel uncomfortable, then you don't have to put as much work into the
it's true.
Film making you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Anyway, in case you couldn't get it from what you just heard, the lead character's in an unhappy relationship, but before they break up, or I guess after they break up, I can't really tell.
I think it's before.
I think it's just before they break up or something.
The male character's planned a trip to Sweden. He's in an unhappy relationship, and somehow, to maybe try and salvage it, he invites her to go with them to this midsummer festival in Sweden, where it's
Sweden.
It is Sweden. They say Sweden.
Cool.
And it's like obviously in Sweden in summer, the day's like 23 hours long, and the sky is blue all the time, and it's I think they call it a weird ritual where they get to dress up in clothes and perform what was essentially like a pagan ceremony.
It's a very paganistic ceremony, yeah.
But then, weird freaky things start to happen about the same time that the weird freaky violin kicks into the trailer, where they start taking like psychotropic drugs, and it looks a bit like cultish because there's like weird cult leaders, and they start doing weird things, and then there's they try and drive a rift between this couple, which is unhappy anyway, by the attractive Swedish girls are like flirting with him, and she's going a little bit crazy because she's already a little bit emotionally fragile, and they've maybe laced the water that they're drinking with LSD, and suddenly this ceremony, which only happens once every year, becomes a bit sinister because you see like them maybe kicking people's faces and cutting open cows and playing with entrails and possibly throwing people off cliffs.
There's a little bit of a weird kind of like. It really feels like Americans looking at foreign countries' customs and just going, wow, look how weird it is. And like, let's make it weirder by making it creepy as well. Because Midsummer is a thing. Like, it is a celebration that happens in a fair few Scandinavian countries, I believe. And it's not like, these days, it's nothing really sinister at all.
No.
It's quite a lovely thing. But here we get that kind of like that fish out of water kind of feel, because and feeling trapped by the weirdness of it all.
Yeah. So Ari Aster, who directs this, did Hereditary, which I think we talked about. That's a really creepy film with this weird-looking, creepy little girl. I think at one stage she like goes to cut a bird's head off with a pair of scissors. And it's that kind of like it makes
just like uneasy visuals.
And I think it coupled with weird violins, uneasy visuals. I think that's where they're trying to get that freak out. This reminds me a little bit of The Wicker Man. I haven't seen the Christopher Lee one, but I've seen the Nicolas Cage one, where it's like they go to some weird cult, and it turns out that I think in that one it turns out they're sacrificing him for bees.
Yeah.
The bees! It was all for the bees! Okay.
There's no bees in this that I can see, but maybe that's a third act twist.
Definitely feel as though there's elements of human sacrifice in this, or at least into that.
It's all, again, it's just like, look at the pagan book of weird rituals and just chuck as many of them in there as you can, and go from there, I guess. All right, those are the 3 films for this week's episode, but of course, before we can do anything with those, we're going to have to take a little walk over to the green room. All right, so let's have a quick recap of this week's films. We have
a people hunting people action thriller.
Oh, nice. I like that. We also have
an ensemble cast historical gangster film.
Yep, and finally we have
a weird foreign ritual
folky
thriller
horror pagan stuff film. All right. I chose last week for the family-friendly special. Now let's make something decidedly unfamily-friendly this week, and I'll leave it up to you to decide what that is.
They are all particularly unfriendly.
They really are.
There is a lot of like people exposing their insides, which is just like through being shot or being shot or being disemboweled or being decapitated. Or I feel like Movie Film Studios wants to release a film that is similar to Midsommar.
Oh yeah, like a creepy,
weird,
folky,
foreign, ritualistic.
Yep.
And to be fair, out of all the films that we've described, and I should probably just call it Midsummer, even though it's spelt Midsommar.
Yep.
And I don't know, I feel like saying Midsommar at least. You can at least get a sense of how it's spelt.
Yep.
I think that one is going to do the best at the box office.
Yeah.
It seems to be getting reasonably good reviews.
Yep.
I've actually seen posters for it around Sydney, which, I can't say the same of
that's
the other
the mark
ones.
of success, I think.
If I'm genuinely, if they are actually spending money on marketing, for what,
and not just digital marketing, like printing posters and hanging them up in places, like that takes effort these days.
That takes effort, and that's what gets people to go see your films.
Yeah, exactly.
So long as we follow in the same footsteps and do our own print media campaign for the film that we come up with, I think something that's based on Midsommar is where we want to go. And when you were talking about it, I kind of had an idea for which weird European festival.
Oh yeah, go on.
Oktoberfest.
Oh yeah, yes.
But we make it's whatever. It's not what you think of Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a weird...
it's the origins of Oktoberfest.
Like people go to... The characters, they go to Germany to celebrate Oktoberfest, but they don't go to Munich, which is, I believe, where it's like mainly centered around. They go to some weird... out there Bavarian town that possibly was the origins of Oktoberfest. And they celebrated it in some sort of weird way.
They celebrate it in the traditional way. So Oktoberfest these days, and if you are from America or from Australia, from any country that doesn't have a massively direct connection to Germany and Germany's history, Oktoberfest is just an excuse in October to drink a lot of beer. And I'm sure that it has cultural significance beyond that for Germans.
I believe it was I don't know the regents, but like let's say just like King Leopold, when he married someone, they put on a week-long party, and that was the origin of Oktoberfest.
Okay, cool.
And obviously since then it's been turned into like a massive beer drinking and food festival. I actually think as well, one of the rules of Oktoberfest in Germany is that the beer that you drink has to be grown and brewed within the I want to say Bavarian, but like within the bounds of the greater district of Munich or whatever. Whereas anywhere else it's just like, no, it's just drink whatever you want to drink. Which I think I believe that Paris Hilton was banned from participating in all Oktoberfests for trying to market her range of canned wines during Oktoberfest. And they're like, no, this is a festival to celebrate drinking and food and not your marketing place.
Why wouldn't you just can beer? Like, it's how, like, your research is done. Why would you make it wine? Of all the things. All right, ignoring Paris Hilton's like ridiculousness for a second, you mentioned that Munich sort of takes place in the kind of region of Munich and its sort of neighboring areas and so on. So there's a kind of a very specific locale or region where this happens.
Yes.
I like the idea that we have a group of people traveling to a place just outside that border, just outside the border of Munich, and they kind of have
on the edges of the Black Forest.
Yeah, exactly. So they have
I don't know if that's anywhere near what I'm talking
about. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No. Like, I mean, this is an American film. Who gives a crap about locations? People have heard the words Black Forest and Germany before. That's all they need to know.
And then, I mean, that really gives us the opportunity to start throwing in some of those weird fairy book style.
You know, like Brothers Grimm style.
Demons in the Wood. You're sort of like, you know, the faith. Like, obviously, maybe they're probably not there, but there's definitely these pagan rituals about maybe sending two orphans off into the woods, and that's sort of like maybe where the Hansel and Gretel sort of story comes from.
I like this.
And so, like, you kind of have this element of maybe there's some sort of human sacrifice elements. Maybe there's something sinister that lives in the woods. I don't know. I've been drinking this beer, which is laced with LSD, and I can't tell reality from these weird psychotropic elements that are going through my brain.
I like the idea that this was actually where Oktoberfest came from. This sort of little hamlet somewhere on the edge of the Black Forest, somewhere in Germany, which is located really close to the border to Munich. And it started there. And then at some point in history, it kind of splintered off. So Munich sort of adopted Oktoberfest and took it down the route that it's currently at.
Yes.
But this little hamlet sort of kept going, and it seemed to go it seemed to keep going in a very timeless manner. It almost felt like the town hadn't changed for centuries.
Yeah.
And is still celebrating the exact same thing every year. And so they have the same costumes as the Munich Festival because, the
Lederhosen
all that.
That is a very traditional German costume.
And it's still beer related.
Yep.
But it's like this town's sole purpose is to serve Oktoberfest. So when Oktoberfest is finished, they begin preparations for next year's Oktoberfest, which involves brewing beer, growing wheat for the beer and so on, or barley and hops, whatever they put in beer.
Water, barley, hops, sugar,
yeast.
Yeah, there you go. That's the missing component that I forgot.
So every year, I like the idea that every year some foreign tourists come because there's always a German friend from some country who says, hey, come along to Oktoberfest in... what's the name of this town?
Heidelberg.
Yeah, all right, whatever. Heidelberg, and the U is a V. It's spelled that way.
Sure.
Just for no reason. And this German friend just is like, "I'll come to Heidelberg for Oktoberfest. It's meant to be great. It's like where the original Oktoberfest happened. They go real hard there, yada, yada, yada." But it turns out that this German friend is like part of the town and like
trying to get fresh meat through.
You know how I think is it Mormons or the Amish have their sort of
Rumspringer,
where they spend like a year
abroad.
Yeah. So this is like the equivalent of that. They send one of the locals from this town out into the world to harvest a fresh group of people.
I genuinely think this is also how the Wicker Man works, where they send off like some young attractive female to go out and sleep with Nicolas Cage, and then pretend that they're pregnant, so Nicolas Cage comes and looks for them, and then they sacrifice them. So,
wow. Okay. Yeah, okay, I like this, but it's a group of people. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you get your like mixed race cast of people because they're just good friends from university or whatever.
Or they're disparate people that are backpacking.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Like some German guy shows up in a hostel, and so you have people from all over the world who go, hey, this quaint little town of Heidelberg that does this sort of like a much more sort of grassroots Oktoberfest. We're all hipstery and wankery, and we want to tell our friends that we did the original Oktoberfest and not this commercial trumped up bullshit that everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Let's go along.
Let's do it like hardcore back to nature kind of style.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a scene for you. Sort of when they're starting to cotton on that something isn't quite right, they all start thinking about
Is it about the same time that the creepy violins start playing?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. They've started playing like...
Yeah, exactly. It's like I can't believe we didn't cotton on that something was slightly wrong. I heard those creepy warbling violins earlier and I didn't think anything of it.
It's the soundtrack to the town. It's a traditional Oktoberfest folk song.
Have someone on the side of the cobblestone road with their detuned violin and someone's you really should get that tuned and like
Yeah, exactly. Okay, how's this for a scene? As they're starting to cotton on to the fact that something isn't quite right, they start thinking about their German friend who they haven't really seen since they arrived in Heidelberg, and they sort of start saying, German friend, like, and they're like, oh yeah, I've known him for years and years, and then they're like, but how did you meet? And no one can remember how they met, like German guy, because he just happened to turn up only a year ago, integrate himself into their lives, and just trick them into thinking that he's been there forever.
And they probably actually meet other backpackers who are just like, you know what's really weird? I met a different German person who came into our lives and also told us to come here. And we've known them for exactly 1 year. And so everyone's just like, oh, wait, and where are they now? Because they've been brought to the town. And their German friends have disappeared, but they all have the same story of meeting a German person, them joining their group, gaining their trust and bringing them in.
All right, here's where I want to go with this film. So this film right now is kind of by the books. We've got a good theme, we've got a good setting, but we've done this horror film before, right?
Yeah.
So I want to do something that you mentioned earlier. You mentioned Hansel and Gretel.
Yes.
And I want to start tying that into this town. I want to say that Hansel and Gretel are real people.
Yes.
They were two real children who went to a real witch's house and...
Ooh. Is it a real witch? Are we going to say magic is real, or is it?
But magic's real in the sense that like
it's ambiguous.
It's
right?
ambiguous. Yeah.
There's like, I kind of feel as though maybe
dark forces.
The Black Forest is like this thing that they're maybe that like the whole point of the ritual is to keep the Black Forest at bay.
Yeah.
Because if they don't perform these human sacrifices, the actual forest will literally encroach onto their little town and eat it up.
Yep.
And so there is these, like, you know, the idea of these malevolent spirits that are inhabiting the forest.
Yeah.
And so you do have the Hansel and Gretel characters who have gone into the forest.
Yeah. But I think that the Hansel and Gretel characters, so after they've killed the witch in the story, it seems like it's a happy ending. They skip off back home. They're reunited with their, you know, negligent parents and live happily ever after. But I think that what actually happened in history, like centuries ago, was that after they killed the witch, they kind of became the witch. So the two children, so because usually what happens is like a single person will kill the witch and then the curse sort of passes on to them.
Okay, yeah.
But because it was two children and because there were two of them, they become this sort of conglomerate after that. So that like, they sort of share a shared consciousness and they become the sort of, I guess, the head of this town as well. Like they're the...
I kind of, maybe they... I will imagine them as maybe not being actually in the town.
Yep.
But you know how like one of the characters is drunk and they look towards the Black Forest and they see a figure standing there and then they blink and that figure's gone.
Yeah.
And like people are claiming they see this maybe... have they grown up? Are they like...
No,
like,
they haven't. No, they have and they haven't. So we'll get that same kid from Hereditary who looks like a little girl and also a 50-year-old man.
Yes.
And we'll cast her in the film.
So she's the Gretel. She's
the Gretel.
She's one stage of Gretel.
Yep, and we'll get a Hansel who is of similar disposition. You're just like, I can't tell if that's a child or not.
Yeah. And there's like these things that they kind of see at the edge of the forest that they kind of blink and they disappear.
Yeah, but because they're so wasted half the time, they just sort of chalk it up to how good the beer is, and the beer is exceptionally good. You know what I also like about this film? The fact that we're using beer means we can do promotional tie-ins.
Okay.
Can you imagine when we do the Oktoberfest branded beer? You know, you've seen the film, now live the horror.
I actually am a little bit against the promotional tie-ins with this one, strangely enough.
Why?
Because like I feel as though this is the art house.
This is our art house one.
The branch of our movie film studios.
Yep.
I don't know what other people do. Like you have like Fox Searchlight instead of like 20th Century Fox or something like that, and they all seem to be like these independently made films, which aren't about the money. It's all about the artistic.
The art.
It's all about the art form of it.
Yeah.
And introducing any of this branding. I think really sort of takes away from the creepiness of the whole thing.
So we're going to spin movie film studios off into a little independent. There's going to be a little independent studio purely designed for the intense art house experiences that don't make money but are critically acclaimed. So this is going to be our like anything that Wes Anderson makes basically.
Yeah, exactly.
still gets branded under Fox Searchlight, even though, you know, he's a multi-award-winning, multi-million-dollar making director. But anyway, so I think we need a name for our studio as well.
Yeah.
And we should name it as cleverly as we name every other product that we name. So we've got Movie Film Studios Digital Workshop. Then we've got the distribution platform called Movie Film Digital's Movie Film Distribution. No, Movie Film Workshop Digital distribution platform.
You're missing the studio. I think we just call it MFS, like MFS Searchlight. Obviously, you can't call it Searchlight, but MFS something.
Searching.
What's something like art housey and wanky? I'm thinking like Pinhole Camera. Like it's just like what's something equally as like, oh, you know, you haven't really done it until you've tried it this way. Something bougie, something hipstery. It's got to have that sort of like feel and element to it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, there's a particular type.
What about like MFS Lighthouse or something like that?
Yeah, like
just copy the flashing. There's a Castle Rock has that.
Castle Rock has that. Yeah.
Oh,
I like Pinlight. I like Pinlight.
Pinlight?
Yeah, Movie Film Studios Pinlight, because it's sort of like
we never say Movie Film Studios. It's MFS Pinlight.
Yeah, and I like the idea. It's Pinlight because we greenlight. Our films,
exactly.
But now we're pinlighting them.
This is it's like greenlighting it, but with significantly less light, and light is being the budget.
There's no hue in this light either. No. It's just white.
It's all
Your film is being pinlit.
All right, so we've got MFS.
MFS Pinlight will make Oktoberfest.
I'm assuming we're calling it Oktoberfest.
I think you have to.
But it has to have some sort of weird spelling.
It's got to be spelt even weirder than you spell it in the...
So,
I think the German version
has the K, right?
It's spelled with a K, but there's no umlauts. There's no weird symbols on it. I think our one needs to have...
I think we replace maybe the F with a V.
Yep.
So it's like Oktobervest.
Vest, yep. There's going to be umlauts over the O's.
I think there's also Verst. Maybe it's got a W in it, so it's October, WERST. ST, so like Oktobervest.
Okay, good.
Because like I think also worst means sausage in German,
it does,
possibly. And so there's like, oh, you know, they forgot that it's all about also the food as well. It's all about Oktobervest. So OKTOB.
Is that going to be the tagline for the film as well?
WERST, Oktobervest.
It's the verst.
No, we're not doing silly puns. At MFS Pinlight, we're all about taking it seriously.
There's no room on the poster for puns in Pinlight. So anyway, all right, we'll take it very seriously. I think we need more art housey stuff in the film, though, don't you think?
Yeah, I think I've got images of these black gnarled trees that are sort of like warping and weirding out.
Are we going like Ingmar Bergman style, like art house with like playing chess against death on a beach?
Yeah, mate, sort of. Like, I'm sure we can get some weird bougie director to come in and do that sort of stuff for us.
Yep, I like the idea that. In these films, people always die. Like it's just the thing where like
the guy who's super keen is like, oh yeah, we should just go do it. Like, oh, don't think about it. It's not weird and creepy at all. I'm having so much fun. They're always the first to die, or possibly even they go missing. They get drunk and run off into the forest naked. And like, woohoo!
But I also think that like part of it should be to make it even worse is people will die and they are viscerally killed by their friends and the other people in the town, but then I think they should die again. So they should just somehow come back to life after being dunked in a vat of beer and then being forced to be killed again. So they get the horror of dying, coming back to life, and then dying again. Just sort of like really emphasize the twisted nature of this town.
I think what we do, if you want like to double the gore by having all of our characters die multiple times. Maybe they sort of die and then they wake up and it's like, it was just a really big night and maybe part of it was a dream. That's actually a really nice sort of twist where they are actually getting killed over and over again. But every time they get killed, they kind of wake up and think it was just like a hangover, a weird hangover dream. And that way we can just have, we don't need to cast that many people. We want to have the goriest film in the world. We can just keep killing them over and over again.
I also like the idea that they're maimed and like they are decapitated and their like limbs are lopped off, but they can't die. Like they just for some reason they're just not dying and they just continually in pain.
This is really twisted.
Yeah,
like,
it's art house. It's Pinlight twisted though.
Twisted and broken and horrible.
Exactly. I think, and also we need to tie in. I think that the message here will be, I don't know, don't drink beer. Is that the message of this film?
I think the message of all of these films is don't trust foreigners. That's basically what it boils down to.
Oh, jeez. All right. Anyway.
I think the good thing about MFS Pinlight as well is that we don't really need to think about casting.
No,
because none of these films.
Matter.
I mean, with the exception of Wes Anderson, who just casts 100 Hollywood A-listers in all of his films, all of these ones there's like no one you've ever heard of in any of these films.
But like his first films, you didn't really know anyone in them anyway. Like they were all actors cast.
Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson.
Before they were famous.
Jason Schwartzman. I suppose he made the career of a lot of these people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what Pinlight is setting out to achieve: to make the career of previously unknown and unnameable actors. So we literally just got to peruse the casting folder of some janky casting house or some janky production house and just look at people.
Little secret, AJ, there is no shortage of 20-something people who want nothing more than to be cast in a film.
I can literally just put a message on Facebook and I'm sure we'd get our cast in no time. All right, great. So I think that's it, isn't it? We've got the name. We've got the malevolent spirits of Hansel and Gretel who have different names. Like they'll be like Hansvel and
it's called Heidelberg, right? So maybe it's Heidel and
like Heidelberg is actually like a portmanteau of Hansel and Gretel.
Heidel and Johannes. So like the Heidi and Johannes are the two kids, and they're just like, and that's why it's called Heidelberg.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in the mountains.
But you don't know that. You don't know that until later.
I think Berg means mountain, so they're in the mountains somewhere.
Yeah.
Salzburg is a salt mountain.
Spielberg
is the Spiel Mountain.
Do we need a director? No, we don't.
Probably not. We'll see if
casting
Ari Adsel is available. Or
I'm not just put a message on Facebook as
well.
Exactly. We're looking for a director to do an art house film. All right, great. I think that's a wrap.
I think you're right.
Oktoberfest.
Oktobervest.
Oktobervest. Housekeeping as per usual. We are online at moviefilmstudios.net where you can find all of our previous episodes, our bios, and Mafuzawudada, the incredibly outdated list of films that we've made it on this podcast. We're on various social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. That doesn't count. That's not really a social media platform, is it?
It is. I mean, there's the comments.
It's skewed more on the media side of things than the social. But anyway, yeah, we're on those platforms. Just search for Movie Film Studios. We post little animated snippets, now in color, in glorious Technicolor, of little moments from the podcast, which are fun and animated and full of frivolity. If there is a weird foreign friend in your life and you feel like you need to expose them to your culture, how about you let them listen to Movie Film Studios on your platform of choice? We are on Spotify, Podbean, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, our website, of course, and pretty much any other place that you get podcasts from. And I think that's it.
I think we've once plugged that we were going to perform in It's Sandpit. In the one episode that came out before we were in that, we are going to be performing in the Sydney Fringe Comedy Festival.
Yes.
I think we should probably bring it up now, so at least we can give our audience a little bit of notice about that one, to give them an opportunity to buy tickets and come see us.
Absolutely. So we are playing on the 26th and 29th of September at the Factory Theatre in Marrickville, New South Wales. We will be performing our 2-person improv show, which is movie related, so it's very similar to the podcast, only better because we act out the movies.
It's true.
On the spot.
And also, a friend of the podcast and former guest, Beth Melrose, will be doing stand-up set before our shows.
Immediately before us, in the same room, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we're considering that as opening for us, warming up the audience for us. The fact that she's a well-established and much more popular comedian than us has no bearing on the fact that we're definitely not closing for her. Let's just...
She definitely hasn't opened for Will Anderson before, and also done stuff at the Melbourne Comedy Festival and various other... And in
Edinburgh Fringe.
Edinburgh Fringe was a winner,
runner-up of the World Raw Comedy Festival.
Yeah, but she's opening for us. Okay. Tickets for that are on sale now at the bargain basement price of $12. We will be keeping it relatively family friendly as well, so bring your kids.
You say that. AJ's told me I'm not allowed to swear quite as much for the kids, but it's on late enough that I think we're past the watershed. And
exactly.
If I really wanted to, expose a nipple, I'm sure it'd pass the censorship rating.
All right, and I think that's it.
All that remains this week is to thank you once again for listening. I've been Isaac.
And I've been AJ.
Roll credits.